Headlines about Senator Porter got the worst record. Well, I would like to also say Mr. Gaylord got the worst record of not reporting news concerning blacks. For example, we went to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, came back with the top 10 in the Miss Black America contest. Have you read it? In the Daily Oklahoma? No, you have not read it, but you read Porter was the worst. Well, Mr. Gaylord, the more you say about Senator Porter, the more we love him. He can do more. He can do more for us in 1 minute than anybody else can in 50 hours. If you don't, I did a survey. I called different people and asked them what did they think about it, and they say they love Porter. And if he's the worst in attendance, he's the best in representing them. Now, I know some people that's out there all the time, and they aren't representing nobody but themselves. Clara Luper reporting KAEZ Radio in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I know many of you want to call in, and you have some questions that you would like to ask. I want you to do it, and I'm going to give you that opportunity to call us here at KAEZ Radio and ask questions. Because there are many questions that must be asked, and the worst thing can happen to a city is for its citizens not to be informed. Now let's go back over and kind of get together what we are saying here today. We're saying that in Oklahoma City, you have a man and a woman, a man and his wife, who holds the two top positions in labor in this city, in management. They're tough too. You go through one, boy, they're tough. You have a city manager who tried to escape to another city, but that city turned him down, and so he's here, and I'm sure he's grateful to be making $75,000 a year, more than the governor of the state of Oklahoma, and more than the governor of a lot of other states. And if you want to know, I do have that listing at home. Your plumbers in Oklahoma City, in 1978, your electricians were making under $12,000, and now they are only making $16,000. Your clerks, your store clerks, running $8,778, and today they are $13,154. Your maintenance workers, and these are the people that you can't do without, running $8,758 in 78, and in 85, $12,611. The custodians, $8,203 in 78, and in 85, $12,611. Yes, your truck drivers, $11,183 in 78, and in 85, $15,514. What kind of city is this? A city where the rich is getting richer and the poor is getting poor. What kind of city is this? Now I have talked to these three presidents. I would like to ask the president of the Firefighters Union, if you think now city funds are distributed equally among all sectors of the city.
Well, I don't think that the city funds are distributed at all equally throughout the city. One thing that really disturbs the firefighters in Oklahoma City is the fact that you can go into the budget for the last 3 years and notice that the city fathers through the budget process has reduced service. Now, anytime they cut a firefighter or maintenance worker or policeman or a street worker out of the budget, what they're actually doing is they're taking jobs away from the working people, and at the same time they're reducing your service as a citizen, the one that pays the tax dollars. We have a tremendous problem with that, especially when they divert the same amount of money that they took away from you, the taxpayer, into new development and new projects. As a career worker in the city of Oklahoma City, it's disturbing to us to see a city go 3 years in a row where they have drastically reduced the public service through police, fire protection, swimming pool, parks. You can look all over this city and see that the city's doing less for your tax dollar. But at the same time, you can see over $20 million this year going to new development in this city. This is really the meat behind our beef with the city. And that's the fact that most of this money is going to new development so that the contractors and developers of this city can profit from the tax dollar. You, the taxpayer, is not benefiting because your services are reduced, and we, the city employees, the career employees, are not being even adequately paid, equivalent to most other even smaller cities in this area.
I've asked you to call in questions, and here's a question. Are the blacks and whites city employees working together? I would like to hear it from all of the standpoints.
You bet we're working together, side by side. We don't distinguish between which color we happen to be. We're all city employees, whether we're firefighters, police officers, garbage collectors, street maintenance workers, or whatever color. We're all together.
Okay, would you give your name, please, and the organization that you are representing?
I'm Cliff Stowe with AFSCME Local 2406.
I'm Charlie Stone. I'm the president of the local of the firefighters in Oklahoma City, and I see absolutely no distinction between the black firefighters and the white firefighters. We're all working together. When we're out there on the fire ground situation, we depend on each other, and when we're on the picket line, we depend upon each other. There's no difference.
Clara Luper asking questions.
Paul Taylor again with the police department, and about the simplest way to break that down. When we get shot down on the street, we all bleed red, whether we're black or white or whatever, and we're together 100%.
You're together 100%. I want you out in Oklahoma City, and now I want all of you black people to listen to this very carefully. Do you know not but one black person in Oklahoma City has been promoted by your city management in the past 3 years? It's just one that has been promoted. Now, I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, get on the telephone line and call me. Give me the name of a black person that has been promoted, and you may continue to call me. This is the Clara Luper radio show, and we are telling it just like it is. All right. Now, there are many people that's on the telephone that want to talk to me. I am in a position where I cannot talk on the telephone. Just give me your statement, and oh, yes, we'll be able to get you on the telephone. I'll be able to get you in just a minute. In the meantime, I would like to ask you, what are you going to do next? That's what I know. I want to know what's going to happen next.
Well, next Tuesday, the police and the fire and the AFSCME and our friends, which would be you too if you want to come and join us, is going to be at City Hall from 7:30 to noon. We're going to be picketing City Hall again. What we're going to do is we're going to show the citizens of Oklahoma City and the council what we think about the 1985-86 budget. We're going to be there with some information. It's going to be a informational picket, and we'd like for you to come.
This week, we'd like to do something a little bit different than last Tuesday. This week, we're calling on the public. We want our friends out there, the bankers, the ministers, the service station attendants, the children, the housewives, everybody. We want you to come down there Tuesday morning and walk with us. Last week, we packed the city council chambers with city employees and their supporters. This week, we would really like to pack the city council chambers with the citizens who support us, who care what's happening, and who are willing to come down and tell the city council what they think.
We're the people that provide all the services that you people want. We're the policeman that comes to your house. We're the fireman that comes to your house. We're the garbage man. We're the street department man. We're giving you everything that you want, and that's the service you need. We're not the state. We're not the federal government. We're Oklahoma City, and we say our employees deserve more than what they're getting. That we're second and third-rate citizens, and that's the way we're being treated. And that's our message to the people out there, that we're first-rate citizens. We live in this town, we pay taxes, and we deserve more.
Have someone on the line. This is Clara Luper.
Yes, Clara. I'm one of the city employees that walked with you down there Tuesday, and I just want to tell you that...
Will you talk up just a bit for me?
Okay, I'm one of the city employees that walked down there with you Tuesday, and I just want to let you know that all of us appreciated it, and that you were a big feather in our cap, so to speak, because of the fact that when you spoke before the city council, you got their attention. And I think the reason you got their attention is because they're politicians, and they know that the weight that you carry in the community, and that you're a community leader, and if they don't listen to people like you, they're in trouble. And I just wanted to say something about our mayor's comment about intimidating tactics. And if he wants to find out what intimidation is, all he has to do is become a city employee and just ask some questions about some of the waste that goes on in the city, or file a grievance, and he'll find firsthand what intimidating tactics are all about.
Well, thank.
Beg pardon?
I was enjoying hearing you talk. I didn't know that.
Well, I'll I'll make another comment.
Okay.
You can ask Cliff Stowe about this, and he can probably give you the interpretation of a second-rate citizen better than I can. But it's a label that all city employees have been tagged with. And all I can say is carry the message to the mayor and the city council, and just watch them stand back and do nothing, and they'll see how fast that second-rate citizens can become first-class voters in a hurry.
Okay, thank you so very kindly for calling. Clara Luper's radio show.
Yes, Ms. Luper.
Yes.
I'm also a city employee, and I agree with the gentleman that just called in. If he want to know what intimidation is, just do like I did, work in a skilled position for better than 3 years, and ask why come you can't be paid those skilled wages. You watch intimidation when your family have to go hungry for approximately 13 weeks, where you've been injured on the job, and then they intimidate you, then refuse to pay you, make you have to go through a lot of rigmarole just to get your money, and you still refuse to give it to you, and you have court orders. Let your family go hungry, and then you'll see what it means to be hurt.
Are you saying to me that as a city employee in Oklahoma City, you have worked all of these years for the city, and you worked as a skilled worker, but you were getting unskilled pay?
Well, I wasn't on there completely. I've been with the city 4 years. I've worked in a skilled position for about 3.5. I got hurt on that job working by myself. I've also carried out other laborers and showed them things to do on the roof by myself. Then when I applied for the job, I was told by personnel that they had to go with a better qualified person. I didn't have the qualifications.
You didn't have the qualifications, yet you had the qualifications to train someone else.
Well, that's not... I've even had management tell me that I'll work up there until they say different. Just one individual in management told me that. I think he was just kind of mad at me because I had filed grievances and got the label as a troublemaker, but I'm not a troublemaker. I enjoy my job. I want to work for the city. I want to be a career employee and retire from the city, but I cannot continue to work for the city and be intimidated and harassed by management because I asked for better. I just asked for equality.
Okay, now we have heard the presidents of these unions say here that the blacks and the whites, white employees are working together. Would you agree with that?
Well, I can only speak for my department. We had a big gap at one time, but over the last year or so, we've become one unit, and that's how I've been able to do things. As one individual in my department, Oregon, is when I was getting all my harassment. But since the other employees have been trying to get with me, and we're starting to realize that they're not going to go anywhere as well as myself, I agree with the unions as of now. We are working together, and I think together is the only way we're going to make it. But we ask the public not to take our word for it, not to take management word for it, to get up and come out and see what your tax dollars are doing. Talk to the individuals that have been there. We're on the battlefield. We know what's going on. Talk to us. If we lied to you, you can check it out.
Well, I just thank God that he has allowed me to live in a city that I love so much, long enough to see blacks and whites working together. Now, that has been my dream ever since I've come to this city. And if we have gotten to that point, we are ready to move. Because when you add all of the poor working people together, whether they're black, white, oriental, or what have you, and you put them up beside management, you're going to have a situation. Well, when you tell me that you working people don't have any rights in comparison with a few people in management, it reminds me of South Africa. Now, this is in South Africa where you have a few blacks and a few whites that are controlling everything. Well, we have a similar situation here, but it's not color, it's economics. I'm going to get back because I want the presidents of these unions to tell my radio audience what you want them to do tomorrow. This is what I want you to do. I want you to tell me what you want the people to do. Okay.
Well, what we'd like for the citizens of Oklahoma City to do is we'd like for you to call your city council person and tell them that you feel like it's time that there be equality amongst the city employees, that the rank and file employee out there be treated at least equally as well as the management of this city. We're the ones that are the lifeblood of the city. We're the ones providing the service. We'd also like the listening audience that if you agree with our position, we'd like for you to show up Tuesday at City Hall. We'd like for you to bring your friends, to contact your ministers or people that you know in the community that might also share our same belief. All we're asking for is a fair shake, to be treated like normal folks, to not to necessarily go out and get all of our want-tos met, just take care of our needs, and that's what we're looking at today. I'll see if the other, if P.D. Taylor from the police has something he wants to say.
Charlie Stone said it very well. That was one of our biggest reasons to take to the sidewalks of City Hall, was to be able to tell our side, because for the last couple of 3 years, our pleads have been going on deaf ears, and no one has been listening. We were getting absolutely no response, no coverage, no stories in our newspaper that we've got. And I tried to bring that to everyone's attention. That was one of the reasons we took to the street. And I told a reporter that we got absolutely no stories done. The next day he called and apologized and said that I was absolutely right. They had not done one single thing on negotiations or city salaries or any problems. So a lot of good things has been accomplished. A lot of good things was done last Tuesday. But next Tuesday, it's time for the citizens that have been hearing what we've been saying. It's time to call your councilman. It's time to call the mayor. And it's time to call the city manager. It's time to tell these people that with a personnel director making $52,000 a year and sitting at the bargaining table telling us there's no money available, there's no rhyme or reason for pay plans in Oklahoma City. There's no rhyme or reason for management pay plans. I did a talk show the other day with Jerry Gilbert, and he kind of touched on a problem, I think. The majority of that council is very influential and very well off. It's hard sometimes to relate to the poor working man that's making $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 when they're living in circles of much greater than that.
This is a Clara Luper radio show, and this portion of our show is brought to you by the M&W Welding Company. Mr. Merle McCary, located here on Northeast 23rd Street. Say, if you need some burglar bars, be sure and call him. That's the M&W Welding Company. It's time now to start thinking about your fall outfit, especially your wardrobe. Go out to Sir Charles the tailor and ask Sir Charles the tailor to measure you up, because you deserve a tailor-made suit. Well, it's Freedom Fiesta time, the Freedom Fiesta time in Oklahoma City, and it's time for you to get ready. The NAACP Youth Council will be coming out on 10 definite programs that they will work on the rest of this year. This happens every year, and this is the 27th year. I would like to call your attention to some very important days. On the Freedom Fiesta, we'll kick off this year with a voters registration drive sponsored by the NAACP Youth Council as part of the national NAACP work. That will be on Tuesday the 13th. On Wednesday, it will be a get-together day. On Thursday, it will be President's Day with Gwendolyn Fuller and Harold Woodson. On Friday, it will be Letty Ruth Hunter, Nancy Davis, and Lillian Oliver's Day. That's the day of the big fashion show. On Saturday, it will be Clara Luper's Day, and Clara Luper's name will be used as a symbol of all of those that participated in the sit-in movement some 27 years ago. It will be a parade that will start at Moon Middle School and go straight down Martin Luther King Avenue to Freedom Center. Now, all of you are asked to participate in this march, and that's on Clara Luper's Day. We will have a bean dinner. Those of you that like brown beans, pinto beans, snap beans, it's bean day. Now, every year you give Clara Luper all the beans that you can sell. This year, beans are going up. You're not going to get a bean dinner for $3 this year. You have to pay $4 for your bean dinner, but you can get all of the beans that you can eat. It's bean time. Call me at 424-3949 and tell me about the beans. On Sundays, Doc Williams Day and Samuel Cornelius, the Assistant Secretary of Agriculture, will be our speaker at the Church of the Living God, 3520 North Kelly Avenue here in Oklahoma City. Don't forget, tell everybody that Samuel Cornelius is coming to town. Today's program has been a program of information, and that's what you need, information. You need to know what you can do. And let's get down to specifics. Mrs. Gloria Matthews went to City Hall. She had the opportunity to go there and express her wishes. Mrs. Matthews is one of our outstanding businesswomen, and whenever she wants anything, she goes to City Hall, and she's going to be there helping them, because everybody needs to help everybody in this town. You are the owner of what business in this town, Mrs. Matthews?
Chauncey Sheridan's Pizza.
You are the owner of what business?
Chauncey Sheridan Dina's Preschool and Nursery.
And where is that located?
1643 Northeast 50th and 2611 Martin Luther King.
Would you like to invite some people to come by your place just to see what's going on?
Yes, I would. We will. You're always invited to the Chauncey Shardina's Preschool and Nurseries. You don't have to wait till we have open house. The doors are open for you to come in and see what we have to offer. I want to thank all of you for your participation that you have done all the year. We have a wonderful staff. We have wonderful patrons. And I want you to watch the news and listen to the Clara Luper Show because Chauncey Shardine is fixing to open up something. I don't want to say it today, but I'll have more information next Sunday about the new training school that we are fixing to open for our child development participants.
This is a Clara Luper radio show, and certainly this is a show that you cannot afford to miss. And the reason I don't want to miss it, I want to do something real different. I'm going to invite my city manager and my city mayor and my councilman to come and visit with me next week. I'm going to send a special invitation. I probably will hand deliver it to Mr. Scott Johnson, to the Honorable Mayor Coates, to come out and let's talk to our people because there are two sides to every story. Now, we've heard your side, and we want to hear Scott Johnson's side. Now, one thing about some people, like Scott Johnson, they won't come and talk to poor people. Well, we're going to put him on the limb. We're going to see if he would come out here next week and talk. And next week, if he would come and you all would come, just think, we would get two sides of it at the same time. At this time, we pause for our funeral and death announcements with Anita Brown.
Raw Funeral Home announces the following services. Services from Mr. Isaiah Tyson of 2023 Northeast 20th is pending with Raw Funeral Home. McKay Davis announces the services of Mr. Robert Johnson, 1538 Northeast 43rd. Will be Wednesday at 11 a.m. at the Unity Baptist Church. Funeral service from Mrs. Lily M. Townsend of 1513 North McKinley will be Tuesday at 11 a.m. and that'll be graveside service at Trice Hill Cemetery. We would like to say to the families tonight, and as we say it, we want to say a prayer, that God will comfort you. Trust him when dark doubts assail thee. Trust him when your strength is small. Trust him when to simply trust him seems the hardest thing of all. Back to Clara.
Anita, I have some thank you notes here. I have a thank you from Mrs. Jernigan, who would like to say thanks to those of you from the St. John's Baptist Church and other friends, club members, and relatives that remembered her so closely and so dearly during the passing of her son. A big thank you, and she will never forget you. There are some things that I would like to talk to you about. I asked you about, I told you that in City Hall that you had two people down there, a man and his wife. You have a budget director named Jan Jackson who makes $43,000 a year. Then you have a personnel director, Don Flegel, $52,000. That's a man and his wife. Now, let me add their salary together. Now, I'm from Hoffman, Oklahoma, and I'm supposed to be terrific in math. Together, the budget director, your budget director, and your personnel director, like $5,000 are bringing home $100,000 a year. Now, that's what you call kinfolks. Now, $43,000 is Miss Jackson's salary, and Mr. Don Flegel, $52,000, a total of $95,000. Now, I have some recommendations. One recommendation should be like it is everywhere else. That should be divided. If one, I don't have to tell you. I know Scott Johnson's smart enough to figure out that and reduce his own salary. Well, no, that's not his job. That's the city councilman's job. They're down there looking at our welfare. And if the city council in Oklahoma City is crazy enough to give management what they want and neglect the workers, then somebody's going to have to go, and you move them with votes. We come now to a very important moment in our show. A moment in which I want you to think for just a minute. The Urban League has just completed a national convention with 3,000 people. There was another young man that spoke in Washington, D.C. At the same time of the Urban League Convention, 11,000 people gathered to hear this man speak. Both were black. Now, Mr. Jacobs was speaking for the Urban League, and another man was speaking. I want you, the first one, to send me that letter this week telling me who that black man was that drew 11,000 people. I will give you $5. The address is Clara Luper, Post Office Box 11106, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. We must clean Oklahoma City from not only the outside but the inside. And today I speak to those of you that continue to put trash in your front yard. Those of you that have automobiles hanging around aren't running jacked up. Now I want you to take on keep Oklahoma City beautiful. Let's keep it beautiful from the outside. Let's keep our houses and our yards and things clean. Nobody likes anything that's dirty. So clean our yards, cut our grass. Let's demand something of ourselves and our neighbors. As I look at the clock on the wall, I know within 3 minutes Clara Luper is going to have to say goodbye to you. But before I say goodbye to you young people out there, I want to tell you something. I know that many of you have been offered drugs this week, and I appreciate those of you that have called me and say, Miss Luper, you're right, I'm not going to take drugs. And I say to you that drugs are your enemy. And the reason that drugs are your enemy because they do not help your situation. As I visit the county jail, I see so many of our young people that are there because of drugs. If drugs were your friend, it would help you to move ahead in life, to stay on your job and do some other things. But drugs are not your friend. And I ask you to do this for me this week. Just do it this week. Don't associate with drugs. Yes, they are going to say to you that you aren't up with it. Okay. But what I want you to say to them is that you don't have but one head. Now, I have been studying transplants. They have transplanted legs and everything, but as yet I have not heard of anybody that has transplanted a brain. So if drugs are going to work on your brain, stay away from it. You're saying to me that, Miss Luper, it makes me feel good. It makes you feel good as it's destroying your brains. Now, it's nowhere you can get a brain transplant. Stay away from drugs. Now, you little jackleg drug pushers, remember, if the people rebel against you, and the people should stand up and say, we don't want any drug pushers. And I asked you last week to send me some complaints. The first complaint I got was that out in Lincoln Park, people out there selling drugs, Mr. Police Officer. They have a table out there, and you go out there and pick your choice. And I call upon the police department of this city, the FBI, and everybody else to do it. The people with the drugs must be the people with money. Now, if you are a fool enough to go somewhere where somebody else sitting up in an air-conditioned office giving you a little paper sack to go out and push drugs, and you're behind get in jail while they're going on to Hawaii or somewhere else, just think. Let the drug pushers know that you don't want their product and they are out of business. And to those of you that are in our churches, we are spending a lot of money talking about missions. We've got to do some missionary work on the northeast and the northwest and the southeast side of town. So let's take some of this money that we are sending off and invest it in Boy Scout troops, Girl Scouts. Let's invest it in NACP Youth Council, YWCA, anything that's helping our young people. Well, darlings, as I look at the clock on the wall, I'm going to have to say goodbye. When I say goodbye to you, I mean hello to you because you're coming to City Hall. If every person that's listening will come down to City Hall Tuesday, let's make it look like that Black Friday that we had once upon a time. It will be over. If you will come down there, bring your babies, bring your cousins, bring everybody down there Friday, Tuesday morning at 7:45, then you won't have no trouble. Gory James and Purser, all of those councilmen will want to sit down and negotiate. This is Clara Luper saying, buy your tickets for Mr. Talent USA. They're only $10. And if you know of some talented people, call me. Someone has just called in today and give me some names. Thank you, Dolly. Thank you, everybody. And whatever you do, baby, just remember one thing. Get out, do something for yourself. Bye-bye now.
It's 7:30. You've been listening to the Clara Luper Radio Show at KAEZ in Oklahoma City. Coming up next, we have 3 hours of the best gospel music in Oklahoma City.
Hello, this is Debbie Allen from the cast of Fame with an important message for one special person, the kid out there who's just about to light up a joint. Baby, before you do this, listen to me just for a minute, because what you don't know about marijuana can take your breath away. New studies have shown that marijuana does a lot more damage to your lungs than you think, especially
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a happy good evening to you wherever you are. This is a Clara Luper radio show, and today's show is being brought to you by Rainbow, and Rainbow is good bread. I want you to be sure and call your friend and tell your friend that the Clara Luper radio show is on the air, and as usual, it's the hottest show in town. Calling all shepherds and rivers for the big family reunion that will be held next week at the Southgate Inn in Oklahoma City. If you came off of the shepherd tree, whether you spell it capital S-H-E-P-P-A-R-D, capital S-H-E-P-H-A-R-D, capital S-H-E-P-A-R-D, you belong at the Southgate Inn for that big family reunion. And the same thing is true with the rivers. If you are rivers, you're supposed to be at the family reunion. Registration will start at 8 a.m. at the Southgate Inn. The family will have lunch at exactly 1 p.m., but there will be chittering and chattering and chittering and chattering and swimming. You are to be there. But on Saturday night, the Shepherd to Rivers family will sponsor an all-family talent dinner. Dinner will be prepared by Cleo's. And when I think of Cleo's, my tongue's tied up because I can hardly wait to get to Cleo's restaurant. Now, all family members are asked to get in contact with Onita Brown, and Onita's telephone number is 424-3790. It's rodeo time in Oklahoma, and the 5th annual rodeo at Clearview Memorial Arena, located 1 mile east of Clearview, Oklahoma, will be August the 2nd and 3rd at 8:30 p.m. There will be a big Western parade on August the 3rd, starting at exactly 5 o'clock, and they will line up at 4:30 p.m. at the community center. They have over $1,000 in additional money to be given away. Romeo J. Alford has announced that this will be the greatest rodeo that Clearview has ever had. Those of you that can really ride a bull, go on down and ride that bull and bring that money back to Oklahoma. Today we would like to salute the Watkins Skyview Convalescent Nursing Home, which is clean, which is really a home away from home with 24-hour nursing service. Betty R. Lynch is the administrator. Estella Buggs is the director of nurses. Phyllis Chamber, the secretary. Anita Johnson, the social and activities director. The LPN that is in charge is Hattie Young. Sonoria Major is a food service supervisor. And incidentally, they have one of the few hot food carts for keeping food warm in the state of Oklahoma. If you want to leave your worries at home and not worry about anything, especially your relatives that you cannot take care at home, certainly we recommend the Watkins Skyview Convalescent Nursing Home here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. It's really great to announce that we have a new furniture store on the northeast side of Oklahoma City. It's a M&J Furniture Company. If you are looking for specific furnishings to complement to that special room, or perhaps you are looking for an unusual and unique accessory to enhance your decor, then stop by M&J's Furniture, 910 Northeast 4th Street, which is your neighborhood furniture store, for the finest in-home furnishings and accessories at prices you can afford. The store hours are Tuesday through Fridays from 10 a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. On Saturday, there will always be something special from 11 a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. Remember, they are closed on Sunday and Monday. Now, those of you that are thinking furniture, think M&J's Furniture Company. And once again, if you're thinking furniture, think M&J's Furniture Company, 910 Northeast 4th Street, or telephone 232-0115. Let you in on a secret. Tell them that you heard it on the Clara Luper radio show, and you will certainly get a bargain. Now for the bingo fans, I have some good news. The House of Bingo is open, and they have a special on. You can play all of the small boards you can. If you can keep up with 2, 3, 4, 5, or 10 for $5. No, you like to play large boards. Then you can play all of the large boards you want for $10. That's the House of Bingo, located in the Northeast Shopping Center in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And I will be telling you more about that. I would like to thank so many of you for your support last week. So many of you call and say to me, thanks for being down on the picket line with the city employees, and you asked me why I was down there. Well, I'm going to ask you a question. Why was it that you were not down there? That's the question. And the question is not why I was down there or why Lady Ruth Hunter and NACP Youth Council was down there. The question is, why is it that you were not there? Where were you last Tuesday, or where will you be next Tuesday? You know, it's amusing to me to hear people sing, were you there when they crucified my Lord? Let me ask you, were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified the city workers? Were you there? Well, I know where you would be if they were crucifying the Lord. You would be at home turning on television wondering what's going to happen next. Clara Luper reporting KAEZ Radio here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The question really boils down to, what do you know? What kind of information do you have? Do you have enough information to want to do something about a condition that exists within your city? How much do you really know about the business side of the city? I want you to know that I have never felt so good about anything as I did marching for the dignity of the common worker. I want you to know that, and I want you to understand that. And in order to really understand the problem, I have invited some people here today who should know what's happening because they are down there. These are people that have been elected to represent certain groups of people. How are you young men today? How are you? How are you? How are you today? I don't know who I want to talk to first. I always have the opportunity to talk to so many distinguished people. And I think that's a joy of being on radio. I'll start here. What is your name, sir?
I'm Charlie Stone. I'm the president of the firefighters here in Oklahoma City.
Okay, when you say firefighters, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
Well, the firefighters here in Oklahoma City, of course, that would include everyone on the fire department but the chief and one assistant.
And you are here representing that group?
Yes, ma'am. I'm the president of the organization. I do their negotiating for them.
Negotiating. When you say you are negotiating for them, what are you talking about?
Well, what we're talking about now in particular is we're trying to upgrade the quality of living for the employees of Oklahoma City.
So you aren't pleased with the quality of living for the employees?
No, ma'am, we're not, especially the common workers in Oklahoma City. We've noticed in the last few years that the management of the city just keeps getting fatter and fatter while the common worker is not doing well at all.
Well, I think that it's commendable that the city manager can sit on his hippopotamus there in the air-conditioned office and receive, let's see, in 1978 he was receiving like $44,996. In 1985, $75,000. Is that a fact?
Yes, ma'am, that sure is.
You mean to tell me Scott Johnson received $75,000? That means he receives more than the governor of the state of Oklahoma.
That's correct.
Well, his salary has increased 66% during the past, say, 10 years.
Yes.
What? The firemen, the men that put out the fire, the men that come to the aid of those of us that really have emergencies. About what percent of your salaries raised?
Less than 50%, which would be around $10,000.
$10,000. And the mayors, not the mayor, the city managers have gone up. Oh, my gracious.
Over $30,000.
Over $30,000. Now, you are negotiating a contract, is that right?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Oh, I know they must be happy to sit down and negotiate a contract with you.
Well, we haven't seen any negotiations in 3 years from the city of Oklahoma City. They just sit there and look at us. They haven't done anything for the employees.
Just a minute. Are you telling me that for 3 years you have not had any negotiation with the city management?
The only thing, every time that we've received anything, we had to give something up for it. So we've received really nothing in 3 years.
Okay, in 3 years, you are telling this radio audience, Oklahoma City's most intelligent audience, that in 3 years, our firefighters have gotten what?
When you weigh it to what we had to give up, we've really received nothing.
Okay, now what did you give up?
Okay, 3 years ago, we gave up our health care insurance and 33 firefighter positions for a 3% raise.
You gave up How did you substitute those positions?
Well, we didn't really want to do it that way. It's just that's the way the city said it was going to be, and there was nothing that we could do about it.
Okay, you couldn't even negotiate it.
They wouldn't negotiate with us about it.
Okay, now when you say they, who are you talking about?
We're talking about the city manager and the personnel director of the city, which would be Scott Johnson and Don Flegel.
Okay, now it's really interesting. I think the public should know that we have what I call, now this is Clara Luper. It's not the station, it's not the union people, it's Clara Luper. I say in Oklahoma City we got a strong dose, we call it nepotism. That's when a man and his wife are in the same bag. Now it's quite interesting, and I don't know whether you know it out in radio land. You have a personnel manager. The personnel director of Oklahoma City is married to, yes, I want to see if you know. I want you to guess at it. In the meantime, I'll be back and tell you this is Clara Luper Radio Show, and I'm talking to the working people. The working people. Now, you're saying to me that you have not been able to negotiate anything in 3 years.
Yes, that's correct.
Have you talked to your councilman?
Yes, ma'am, we have.
And what reaction or what support did you get from the council?
2 years ago, the council budgeted nothing for pay increases for all city employees, and this year the council budgeted nothing for pay increases for all employees. So that was the answer we received.
Okay, I want you to tell me that again, because to me, when we are negotiating, you got to remember that I'm from Hoffman, Oklahoma, where if you let me have some pumpkins, I'll let you have some pecans. This is the way we did business. You mean to tell me you are negotiating, and for the past 3 years you've gotten what?
Well, what we've really received is less than a cost of living increase, and when you weighed what we lost, we've received nothing in 3 years.
You received nothing. Well, that's the fireman, but I want to hear about the policemen, because those are the men that continue to take chances on their lives. I'm telling you, it's really interesting. Who is the president of the policeman group?
I'm Paul Taylor, president of the Fraternal Order of Police here in Oklahoma City.
Paul Taylor, that's a tough name. Paul Taylor, I think of Zachary Taylor. I think of great fighters. How did you get to be elected president of the Order of Police?
Well, hopefully I've got the vast majority of the respect of the police officers. The last time I ran, I was reelected by 87% of the vote. So I think the men are pretty well happy with the job that I'm doing, and I'm representing them.
Well, I'm going to call you Franklin D. Roosevelt. If you got that kind of support, 87% of the firemen voted for you.
Police.
I mean the policeman. I'm sorry. How in the world could I associate a policeman with a fireman? Now, tell me, how well are you doing in negotiating your new contract?
Well, we're in the same boat as the firemen. We've been at the bargaining table for over 2 months. We've gotten absolutely nowhere. The city comes to the table. They won't respond to any of our offers. They don't even want to talk about it. They simply say, no money, we're sorry, and that's about as far as we've gotten.
You're saying to me that when you go sit down at the negotiating table, they say to you, what?
Sorry, no money, and that's always the way Oklahoma City wants it. Whenever times are difficult, as they say, they always look to the city employees to tighten their belt. It's always the city employee that has to suffer when times are hard.
The city employees have to suffer when times are hard. Is that your statement?
That's what the city always tells us. We're the ones that has to tighten our belt. We're the ones that has to go home with nothing to our families.
How do you explain to your families that while other people are getting raises, namely the administration, while they are moving up the payroll, you're at the same old pace? How do you explain it?
There's no way to explain it. There's no way to explain to anyone. There's no way to explain to the other police officers that we got a 3% raise and we lost a bunch of our health benefits, and at the same time, the city manager picked up $15,000. There's no way to explain that to anyone.
All right, now the city manager makes $75,000 a year. Does he have to work overtime like many of you firemen and policemen do at times?
Well, I can't answer for that. I doubt very seriously. I don't think he's out working extra jobs like 75 to 80% of the police department has to do to make a living.
All right. Now, I want to ask you a question that's very, very important. Last week, I saw firemen and policemen walking together for human dignity. How did you happen to get together?
Well, this has been something that's been coming for the last 2 years. and it's something that Charlie Stone with the firefighters and Cliff Stowe with the ASME and Paul Taylor with the police, we have been building this coalition for the last 2 years, and it's not something that just came about overnight. It's not something that just happened for the picket lines. This coalition has been building. We have finally realized that we're all in this together. We're all city employees. What one gets, the other one gets, or what the other one does not get, we don't get it. So we finally opened our eyes, and we are working together. It started over a year ago at our FOP lodge when I invited the firemen and ASME workers down there. We started educating our people on health care, how to use it, and it worked. We saved the city quite considerably amount of money, and that's just something that we plan to do for the future, is continue to work together. And the city does not want that. The city, they're still under the understanding if you divide and conquer, that's the way they operate, and we're totally together.
Together, I've just heard from the police department that they are total together in this city for a common cause. This is a Clara Luper radio show, KAEZ Radio in Oklahoma City. This portion of our program is brought to you by Watkins Skyline Convalescent Nursing Home, located at 3203 Coltrane here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. It's time now for you to sign up for Mr. Talent USA. Mr. Talent USA will be held at the Continental Inn on August the 31st, 1985. And today is a day that you may call in for those young men with talent. Do you know any young men that really have talent? I'm talking about talent. Well, this year we do have $250 worth of clothes to give to the winner from one of your favorite stores here in Oklahoma City. So far, we have some young men that have signed up with talent. We have 2 from Tulsa, Bruce Johnson and Derek Minter from Tulsa, Oklahoma, that will be part of the greatest show, Mr. Talent USA. That show will be held at the Continental Inn on August 31st, 1985. If you know a young man between the 9th grade and college, let us know so we can get him on Mr. Talent USA. And we will have some little Mr. Talent USA. So if you know anyone with talent, please call us here at KAEZ Radio here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I would like certainly to do what I promised to do. I promised to keep you informed about what was happening within your own city. Now, once you have the information, I know what you will do. You will do something about it. And before we leave the air, we're going to recommend some things that you can do, because I know you want to be a part of a great movement. Isn't it embarrassing to sit around now and look back over history and say, I did not take a part? Well, history will be made in Oklahoma City as the firemen, the policemen, and the other workers work together for a better tomorrow. Here's a young man that I've always admired. We've always gotten along together. And how are you today?
I'm fine, Mrs. Luper.
And your name, sir?
My name is Cliff Stowe. I'm the director of ASME Local 2406, representing the non-uniformed employees of the city of Oklahoma City.
Now, here you're talking about non-uniform. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the sanitation workers, about the street workers, the water line maintenance workers, the park department workers, the police dispatchers, the animal control officers, the airport police, and a lot of other employees.
You're representing them.
That's right.
How did you get in a position to represent the non-uniform officers and people in Oklahoma City?
I was a city employee 10 years ago. I then went to work for the state. Then I heard the position of director of this union was open, and I wanted to come home, and they hired me.
They hired you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what have you done to earn your salary?
One of the things we're doing right now is we're making some noise. We're trying to go to the public, we're trying to go to the city council and tell them that it's about time that city employees became a priority. We have not been on their priority list. They can spend $5.5 million for the non-existent string of pearls and then tell us that we're not a priority, that we can't have a pay raise because they don't have any money. We think that's ridiculous.
You think it's ridiculous?
Yes, ma'am. We are unable to feed our families because we're not making a living. We've lost money for the last 3 years, but still we're not a priority. When we talk to them about money, their eyes glaze over and they look at the ceiling. We need a pay raise. We need a pay raise this year, and we intend to have one. We intend to keep going to the public and keep going to City Hall, keep marching around City Hall or whatever we have to do until our voices are heard, our needs are recognized, and the city gives some priority to its most important resource, its employees.
Certainly, I think that it's commendable that you are speaking for the people that cannot speak for themselves and will not have that opportunity. Now, I have had a lot of experience with City Hall. And the other day when I walked in the City Hall, it reminded me of another city manager that we call Old Land. And I think you all call him Olin, who did not listen to the wishes of the people and brought this city into a whole period of disgrace. I know that Scott Johnson should know something about history, or somebody should tell him that one mistake was made during the Olin administration. He refused to negotiate with the people. Now, I know that. Now, since the sanitation workers strike, I have been very disappointed because Mr. Butler, who is a black man that's head of that department, won't even meet with me. Now, this is quite interesting because during the sanitation strike, he was just a janitor. But now he's in management and he won't meet with me. And I know the reason, because he's afraid of Scott Johnson and the people that's paying his salary. But until those that are in management, that have come through the waters of, I don't know what kind of waters that you call it, the muddy waters of disappointments, until they can realize that they are no better than anybody else, I think we are in serious trouble. Now, I wanted to say all that because I have some very pointed questions that I want to ask you. Oklahoma City says they have a pay plan. What is wrong with the Oklahoma City pay plan as you see it?
Well, for one thing, it's extremely top-heavy. A sanitation worker can go to work for the city at $6 and something an hour. After he's worked hard for that city for 4 years, he's reached the top of his pay step with about a 6% pay raise over that 4-year period, while a management level employee can go for 9 years with 5% between each step and get as much as a 45% pay increase. In other words, a city employee, a crew worker, can go from something like $1,000 a month to less than $1,100 a month before he reaches the top of his step, while a management employee can go from almost $3,000 to almost $4,500 a month under the Oklahoma City pay plan. It's top-heavy and it stinks.
Who wrote the Oklahoma City pay plan?
We'd like to know that because we'd like to have a chat with that person.
All right, I'll tell you, that's some plan where you write a plan where the people that's already making money really continues to make more money. It reminds me of the French Revolution where the rich was getting richer and the poor were getting poor. And they tell me those people marched up to the palace and asked for Louis XVI. They were saying, we won't meet, we won't meet. Now, does the city need more revenue as you see it? And why do you think that the public has rejected the last 2 sales tax proposals?
Yes, ma'am, we agree the city needs revenue. In fact, we're in a position to know it probably better than anyone because we're the people that are out there having to hold together 15,000 miles of crumbling sewer lines and water lines. We're the people who fight the fires. We're the people who die in the streets. We know the city needs income. But we think the reason the public turned them down in the past is that the city officials have no credibility with the public. They don't believe the city officials. They think they've lied to them. Well, we're going to make a pledge tonight, all 3 unions. If the city tries another fundraising measure, and if the unions decide to participate and to support it, we are going to be the public's watchdogs. We're going to watch what they do with that money. We may not be able to keep them from lying to you, but we can darn sure tell you about it if they do, and we will.
All right, now, you're saying that the public has rejected sales tax. I know the public voted for a hotel tax, and I haven't seen one dime of that go into the black community. I haven't seen one ad on a black radio station or a black newspaper concerning visitors coming to Oklahoma City. So you know how I feel about sales tax. But last week, you were marching. You were marching because you were saying to the city government, we are somebody. We have dreams, hopes, and aspirations, just like the city manager and his group. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to continue to protest?
Yes, ma'am, we're going to keep talking until we're heard. And if, with your permission, I'd like to make a little quote from your book, Behold the Walls, because it's very relevant today. It's about something that happened in 1969 when you met with 200 sanitation workers in your office. They told you they needed you as their leader. You agreed to be their leader, but you told them that first they had to do something for you. You then said that your office became a classroom, and you and those 200 sanitation workers started a chant. For all those sanitation workers and line maintenance workers and whatever kind of city workers out there that are listening tonight, I want to remind you of that chant from 16 years ago and let you know that it's just as relevant today as it was then.
What was that chant? I want them to remember that too.
It went like this. I might carry garbage, but I am somebody. I might be underpaid, but I am somebody. Hold up your heads. There is as much dignity in carrying garbage as in being a city manager. That was true in 1969 and it's true in 1985.
I love that. Would you mind repeating it for me? Because so many times, and I'm very serious now, so many times there are people that just don't feel good about themselves. Would you read that again for me?
I'd be glad to. I may carry garbage, but I am somebody. I might be underpaid, but I am somebody. Hold up your heads. There is as much dignity in carrying garbage as there is in being a city manager.
This is a Clara Luper radio show. This is KAEZ radio in Oklahoma City. And I'm talking to three men that represent the heartbeat of Oklahoma City. Last week, these men, along with other unions and civic and civil rights organizations, marched to City Hall. They started marching at 7:45, and the march did not end until the city council meeting had ended. This group, many of them put down their signs and went into City Hall. And at that time, they were given the permission to speak before a city council. After the city meeting, I was shocked when I heard the mayor, and I think I'm correct, who said that the city council will not submit to intimidation. Now, I have a lot of respect for Andy Coates, and I'm surprised that he made this statement. Am I correct on my city manager? Did he really say what I am saying that he said?
He did say that, Mrs. Luper, and we have a message for the mayor. We didn't go to the city council chambers to intimidate him or his colleagues. We went there to educate them and to educate the public and to see that we were heard. Well, Mr. Mayor, if we intimidated you, we're sorry. But we got a message for you, too. We won't be intimidated either, and we're going to be back Tuesday morning.
As I listened to those words, intimidation, I rushed to Webster's dictionary to find out what it meant. Intimidation, and there are a lot of things that are not written in words. Intimidation means that when your child look up to you and say it's time to get ready for school, and you have to admit that you do not have any money to buy any school clothes. That's intimidation. Intimidation is when you pass Cleo's restaurant or Big Mac and your kids want to eat and you have to say, I'm sorry, I cannot afford it. That's intimidation. Intimidation is when you can't pay your rent because you got a cold and you have to stay off from work. That's intimidation. Now, I don't want my mayor, as dignified as he is, an attorney running around talking about poor working people intimidating him. Intimidation is when you want to go on a vacation and you can't go on a vacation. When you want to take your wife out for a weekend and you can't take her to the lake. That's intimidation. Well, Mr. Mayor, if that's you say it, you will not be intimidated. Certainly, I appreciate your saying that, but I want you to look at a definition of intimidation, and I want you to give us leadership. This is what we need in Oklahoma City. We need leadership, and that leadership can come from Andy Coates and the city council. When I walked in there, I looked at the city councilman, I looked at my friend Gibbert, who used to walk for freedom and speak for freedom, and I knew that we had an opportunity through Gibbert, through James, through now Purser. I don't know about Purser. He used to arrest me all the time, but one thing about him, he would always laugh when he arrested me. That man has one of the best personalities that I know. But there are three people on that city council that certainly could understand the wishes and the dreams. They talking about the budget. I want a copy of that budget. I want to go through that budget. I want to look at that budget because that budget cut us out. We don't even have any junior swimming pools on this side of town. And we have people that have fought for neighborhood schools, and we don't have neighborhood swimming pools. The Clara Luper Radio Show, and this is Clara Luper, bringing you today the news that you want to hear. Now, those of you that's going to the rodeo, remember to get down to Clearview, Oklahoma on August the 2nd and August the 3rd. Now, if you can't ride a bull, you have no business down to Clearview, Oklahoma on one of those bulls because they got some of the biggest bulls down to Clearview, Oklahoma that all of the boards you want for $5